Hey YouTube, Wubwub Love here. So we're doing round 2 here with this microphone arrangement, so hopefully this works out. So I decided to go for a little ride, stop for some gas, and turns out 1111 is my lucky number today, I guess. So wanted to talk about a couple things I said in my last video, and one of them being that, bigger bikes are okay for beginners, and don't listen to the haters. But there's some things that you need to know about that. First off, being that these bigger bikes, they're a lot less forgiving. They have very sensitive brakes. They have very sensitive throttles. So you need to exercise a little bit of restraint when you're doing things. So, maybe it's not the best, for somebody who's never ridden before. Maybe if you've ridden dirt bikes and stuff, you kind of have an idea how it's going to be. But, like I said, you don't have to take everybody's advice, especially mine. So, just going to be cruising around the neighborhoods again this time. Like I said last time, we're still working on this microphone, and I can't quite get it right. I don't know really what to do about it. So I'm going to just keep trying different configurations, and hopefully one of these days I'll get it right. This way seems to be pretty good. But, I got an email from somebody, and they said, your videos are really long. Well, that's true. I do record longer videos. I've got a lot to bitch about, and when I'm riding, I get carried away, and I love to ride. So it doesn't even dawn on me that time is passing, and I've got 20-30 minute videos here. So what I'm going to do is try to make this one a little bit shorter. I can totally understand, because when I watch longer videos, sometimes I get a little ADD going on. I'm just like, what the fuck is this guy talking about, and why do I give a shit? So I wanted to talk about my job a little bit. I haven't really said a whole lot of what I do, besides that I'm a systems architect for a large financial institution here in Austin. Well, when the business side of the house, all the ties and shirts decide, what they want to do, they don't necessarily know how to do it. So they give me a call, and they're like, hey, we got this idea, and we don't know what to do, and we need somebody who can oversee the project and make it happen. And that's me. So what I do is, I find out, I gather up requirements, what they're expecting, and what kind of performance they're looking at, and what this is going to be used for, and a lot of bullshit paperwork. And then I release an RFP, and I figure out who in the area, in our financial area, already uses stuff like this. And when I find out, I start reviewing those kind of solutions, and I figure out, maybe there's something else in that area that, isn't being used that might be better. So then I look at those. I put all this together in reports, and I hand it over to the guys and be like, this is what I recommend. This is what everybody else is using, and this is what's out there. And most of the time they take my recommendation, which is cool. It's cool to have that kind of power almost, but it's also a lot of responsibility, because if the business doesn't do well, the fewer projects you get, the less money you make, and the higher likelihood of getting laid off is. So, there's a lot of stress in making these decisions, and there's a lot of stress in picking a solution that everybody can like, because there's nothing worse than going to work and be like, fuck, this application sucks. I can't wait till somebody, accidentally formats that server so we don't have to deal with that shit anymore, that kind of thing. And I used to work on the front side of the house, so I know how that is, and I try to keep that in mind. So to get a little bit more specific, I was approached about 8 years ago by our CFO, and he goes, we spend a lot of money on hardware, a lot. I'm talking millions. And I was like, I know, I'm the one who's sending you those POs all the damn time. And he goes, there has to be something else that we can be doing. We can't be spending more on IT than we do on the entire business. I was like, well, that makes sense. There's a ton of innovation that we could be doing right now that we're not. And I gave him the ideas of, a hypervisor like VMware or Microsoft Hyper-V or whatever. And, it was rejected. It took me probably 2 more years before I got them convinced that it was the right thing to do. Their solution was combine applications on servers, and we can do a higher density that way. But after I built a test environment and I showed them that we could put over 30-35 servers on a single piece of hardware relatively easy with the hardware that we already have, it was a pretty quick win. That's $300,000 worth of hardware on a single $10,000 server. It's a little hard to argue that. So, a little bit of history about myself. I'm not the typical IT guy. I guess these days it's not done like this anymore. I have no education. I graduated high school. That's it. And this is back in the day, back in the 80s, early 90s, when computers weren't that popular. And if you knew anything about computers, you were something special. So, I begged and pleaded with my mom, and I need a computer. And, I'm probably 12 years old at the time. And we couldn't afford it. We couldn't do it. So, a couple years later, she surprised me. She's like, let's go pick up a computer. And I was like, no shit. I've been playing on my friends' computers. I've been working in school on their crappy computers. And, I was able to learn a little bit. And when my mom bought me a computer, that was the beginning. That's where my life went. And that was probably the biggest investment in my future that she could have ever made, even more so than saving even for my college tuition. I made more money in the first 4 years of my IT profession than I would have paid for in college. So, if I really wanted to, I could just pay for my own damn college, and not have anybody in debt, straight up. So, I'm kind of on the fence about everybody who says, oh, my kids are going to go to college, or my kids are going to do this, my kids are going to do that. I'm like, well, if you look for other ways to invest in their future, it might make a difference. Instead of, like this guy over here at the corner store, he has a master's in engineering from Caltech. This motherfucker spent probably $150,000 in education, and he works at the fucking corner store. Can't find a job anywhere. I didn't spend a single day in college, not a single day. And I've been, well, I'm not going to say exactly how much I make, but, his entire education bill I could have paid for in a year. So, I guess different strokes for different folks, right? So you have to do something to make yourself stand out. So I guess the college education does that for some folks. But it's not always the only way to go. Because, if everybody tries to stand out, nobody stands out, right? So, I'm not saying for everybody not to go to school or drop out or whatever. But if you find something that you like, and typically you're going to be good at that because you like it. So, you're going to be spending more time, investing more time, and learning more about it. You're going to be doing it better. all of that good stuff. So maybe college isn't for you. Maybe you don't have to go to college just because somebody says or somebody expects it. I came from a very poor background. I didn't have even the choice of going to college, so I was lucky. But I just see too many people with $30,000 in debt or $50,000 in debt and still are working entry-level positions even a decade after they graduate. It's just not, you just have this, you know, doom hanging over you. Like you have this never-ending student loan that will be there for 30 years or however long because you can't pay that much on it because you don't make that much. So, you know, in a senior level position at my company, I have the ability to hire people. So I guess I have a say in who is hired. I don't necessarily can be like, okay, this guy, hire this dude. I can be like, my professional recommendation, la la la. So, so this guy that we hired up, he has I guess I shouldn't talk about this guy particularly. He may be watching my videos. So we hired some guy in the past who has quite an extensive education. You wouldn't know it by talking to him, but apparently he does have a pretty high level of education. Working the same job as me, who has no education. Well, turns out this guy is a complete douchebag. He has no skill, no motivation to do anything. He's worthless. And then we have another guy we hired up who is like me, who I suggested get hired on. You know, I pushed for. He has no education whatsoever, but he has 8 years of actual support history. So like he was a service desk for a while, like a help desk for a long time, for almost 8 years for a big university. And I'll be damned if he isn't better than the guy that we hired up and pay a shitload of money. This guy is still entry level, getting entry level pay. And he's doing shit that's like way over his head, and he's like studying, and he's doing all the shit. And the guy who's already there and has all this education is all like conceited and like, I know this. I don't need to listen to anybody, you know. And you know, if you have drive, I think that you can get anything you want regardless of your education. I don't know. I'm probably totally wrong on this whole topic. I'm probably going to get flamed in the comments about this whole thing, but I'm just not convinced. Maybe it's just because that's how I got into the business, but it doesn't make financial sense. It doesn't make, you know, life sense. Like, I would have wasted 4 years of my life. But instead, I did things like ride bikes and party and build my own personal wealth. You'll hear that a lot in self-help books. Building personal wealth. You know, I think I've done pretty good for myself in not having an education. And now that I've had this many years in the field, it substitutes education. You know, you tell somebody, oh yeah, I've been doing this for like 20 years, and they're like, oh shit, I don't give a fuck what your education is. Even if you had one, it would be irrelevant right now anyway. So this is the end of this video. I hope it's a little shorter. We'll see. Please comment. Please don't flame me. Anyway, subscribe, and thanks for watching.